All right, guys, welcome back to just another edition of our podcast. I think I undersold it earlier because I said I was only looking forward to it for the day, but I've been looking forward to it for a while. It's my buddy Mike. If you don't recognize him, he's part owner of TRZ Motorsports. So our very first dealer account was you guys. Has just been such an awesome person in the industry that you've loved us from day one. You've taken care of us. You've given us guidance. Just always have felt like we're on the same team from the very start. And I really can't thank you enough for that. What a fun journey it's been just for that. I think we're kind of unique because we have this business and we try to race a lot, which I don't understand why the heck we do that. So even with racing, you always support us, make sure we have what we need. If we have tech questions, like we worked a lot on Charlie Brown front end stuff, like always there to help us. So just saw the earth, just one of my favorite people that I get to hang out with, talk to. And I'm probably making you blush a bit, but
probably a little bit.
But yeah, man, it's when you think of people doing what we do, very similar things, right? And to be kind of on the same team probably sounds weird to some people that are watching. But yeah, we're honestly not in a cutthroat business. If you think that you are, like, you're doing it wrong.
No, there's very little competition in reality when you come into drag racing. Drag racing we always tell everyone, it's a niche sport. Like in motorsports in general, drag racing is small. And then you get into small tire, stock suspension. That's like, you're just breaking it down into smaller and smaller categories. And if you don't know almost everybody in it, it's like you're not trying to know anybody in it.
Yeah. Yeah. Super small community. It really is. Mm-hmm. So, and obviously, man, we're a proud dealer of you guys to this day. And I think we sell a bit more of your stuff than we used to, for sure, when we started out.
That's okay. That's how it goes, though, right?
Yeah.
You got to walk before you run, right?
Absolutely. So you're your brother. You're not the original owners of TRZ. How did you come to have it?
So this goes back a bit. Most people nowadays know us. They know TRZ Motorsports. If they know it, they know us as being kind of Orlando, Florida based. We're in Kissimmee, but we would rather tell people Orlando. It sounds nicer.
Yeah, I go see Mike when I go to Disney.
But no, we actually, as a company, started outside of Chicago. A lot of people ask, like, what does TRZ stand for? Well, it's just initials of the original owner. So it was Tommy Z. We'll say Tommy Z. Yeah, his last name, nobody can pronounce. I can pronounce it, but I'm not going to do it because there's no reason. And everyone knows him as Tommy Z. They knew him as Tommy Z. Love him or hate him. It was one of those kind of guys. We got along great with him. One of his shops happened to be maybe 2 miles from where I grew up. So, when my brother Todd, he's the other owner of the company, when he got his Mustang before I even had a license, we started hanging around with a lot of people that frequented that shop and got to know the owner in a way from a customer side of things.
Yeah.
So, that kind of led to where we're at now, so for anyone that's a little curious, like where we grew up, me and my brothers, our hometown was actually a small city that bordered Chicago, south side, named Hometown, ironically.
Really?
It was Hometown, Illinois was the name of it. And, it was just small houses. Like, it was nothing extravagant, but we were, just kind of in the middle of a big city, but we're a small city. Yeah.
Well, before we get to, and I probably jumped to go a little bit, like, how did you guys get into cars before TRZ?
Well, that's
picture, like, what?
It's right about where I was going. It kind of started again. Todd bought I want to say it was a 90 Mustang, a Coupe. And he was 18, so I was 13, and he didn't really know what he wanted to do with the car. He wasn't like a mechanic type, but he knew he wanted to do some stuff. And
just wanted to listen to Vanilla Ice mixtapes. Right?
Vanilla Ice was probably one of them. We started out with that car by actually putting like a stereo system in it because, that was what we knew how to do. We thought we knew how to do it. We didn't know what we were doing. We thought we knew how to do it. I do remember that was around when Green Day first came out. So like their album Dookie was like, I remember that being on the big 6x9s in the back. But no, he had that. And the funny thing was like, I was more mechanical. I was the one that took apart all the shit in the house and never put it back together. I didn't know that much on how to do it, but I took everything apart. But I would tinker with stuff. And when he would start ordering parts, like a cold air intake, they just didn't make much power.
Yeah.
Well, I'd come home from school. When I was in middle school, I'd come home and the box would be sitting on the front door. I'm like, cool, car parts. Let's see what's in here. Well, Todd had another car that he drove to school. So he'd come home from high school. I'd be like, all right, let's go. Like, let's give it a try.
The car parts.
And he's like, what are you talking about? I'm like, well, your cold air came in, so I put it on. What? Okay, fine, whatever. Hop in the car, go for a ride. So that kind of started the whole thing. Yeah. And then, one of our uncles he drag raced for a while here, and he was a mechanic, and he got us into going to the drag strip. And, when we first started going, it was, US 41 drag strip in Indiana. Okay. That was our closest.
And it's still in existence to this day.
Yeah, they're back going, doing a bunch of stuff, which is pretty cool to see. It was, not in the same state, not physically state. It wasn't in the same condition as it was then as it is now.
Yeah.
So, but we used to drive out there. It was like a 2-hour ride. We'd go out there for the day, have some fun. That was it. Then Route 66 opened up when when I was a senior in high school. So this was like 4 or 5 years later. And that became our home track. That was like a 30-minute drive.
Okay.
So we can go there twice a week, like every testing tune. I mean, I would bet that we missed 2 testing tunes for the whole season.
Oh, wow. Yeah, you were there.
Yeah. So like it got that way. So Todd had a Mustang. When I got my license, I got a Mustang. A bunch of our friends we met a lot of people with Mustangs. We grew up kind of Mustang.
It's funny
guys.
You build all these G-body parts. So.
We build all GM parts. And only really started pushing into the Mustang stuff here in the last year. But no, so like that got us into drag racing. We never went anywhere crazy with it. Like we did it. It was fun. It was just what we did. We went to, we'd go down to Bradenton for like spring break shootout when, Fun Ford was doing it back then. And we'd, take a car on True Street, something like that. Like it was just fun. It was a family thing. Like, me and my brother would go, my parents would go, my grandparents would go.
That's awesome.
At one point, my grandma owned a Mustang. She ran it through the street. I think my mom actually drove the car, but she went with her. Like we had all of our family and all of our friends. We all ended up this way, and it's kind of where TRZ came into play. Was like I said, his shop was about 2 miles from our house, and I would have to pass his shop almost to go to my grandma's house. So we kind of would stop in. We were friendly with them, and I guess I don't want to say we became good customers. We were good customers, not because we spent a lot of money, but because it was like, if we needed something, he's like, hey, it's going to be this much. It's going to be this long. Like, all right, cool.
Yeah.
Just do what you got to do. No complaints, no nothing. So he always, I keep saying he is Tom, but he always appreciated us. And, at least it felt that way. And go up through high school a little bit. When I got out of high school, I didn't entirely know what I wanted to do. Yeah. So I went to Universal Tech. There was one of them up in Chicago. I went there like, well, I like working on cars. Drag racing is fun. I went there, get out of there. I was like, man, working in a dealer sounds like a terrible, terrible job. It just wasn't really what I wanted to do. I like doing it, but I like to do that all day, every day kind of wasn't the plan. So, my dad worked at a manufacturing company, the machine shop up on the north side of Chicago. And, he worked there. My brother worked there. A couple of our friends worked there. Now, granted, like we all worked there because my dad worked there. Like it was like a 40-mile drive through Chicago traffic to get each way. So it was not convenient by any means, but it was fun. And we got introduced to a lot of things. So, I got out of Universal Tech and I just continued working there. Gotcha. And that's kind of where I've got the mechanical side or the machining side, manufacturing side of things is all due to that company because I got kind of free reign to do a lot of things there, even though I shouldn't have been. Yeah. Kind of privileged. My dad was the general manager, so we kind of got to do a lot of stuff. And it was a big shop. Like it was what they call a tier 1 supplier. So we made a lot of internal shock absorber components for like Monroe shocks and Gabriel ride control.
Gotcha.
Technical automotive. We made a lot of stuff. So we got to see a lot of things, and we got to, myself, my brother, and two of our friends, we worked in like shipping and receiving. So we would bring in a lot of the raw material, but we'd be shipping out a couple 100,000 parts a day.
Holy cow.
Yeah. Like it was a big place, like 100 something employees, so it was a good sized shop, but we got to know a lot of these parts, which, is funny because now, like, I'll talk to Menser or Craig over at Menser or whatever. And we'll be like, we got this part. And I'm like, I know what that is because we used to make the thing. We used to actually make parts for AFCO. Or AFCO was making their own. Like, we made the internals, some of them, not all. But move on from that. When I didn't know what I was doing, I was working there. I went to a welding school. Like, welding sounds fun. Like, I like welding. That'd be cool.
Yeah, it sounds interesting.
Yeah, like it's always neat. I had a big welder. Let's work on it and do anything with it. Went to school to be a pipe welder. Never took a job pipe welding. Was offered a job doing some stuff that felt not safe.
Yeah.
But came back from that, and I walked into TRZ one day. I was like, hey, I'd really like to work here, and I'm looking for a job welding, but I don't have any experience. I'm like, do you need any help? He's like, I do need help. He's like, I can't pay you shit, but you can come work here for minimum wage. I'm like, $8 an hour sounds great. Sure, I'll do that.
It's the exact job I was looking for.
But it was just, I wanted to do it, and it kind of put together the automotive side and the welding side, and I was like, I could kind of get to work on some cars and do that. And, because I knew him, he kind of didn't even bat an eye at it. He's like, sure, like if this is what you want to do, sure. Like, I can't pay you anything, but if you want to do it, yeah, we need someone.
Did he do chassis work, or did he just do like a mix of everything?
I would say at the time, TRZ was probably more known for chassis work. Go back, man, I don't even know how long you've been paying attention to this stuff. So, like, if you go back to like 99, 2000, 2001, I'm not sure if you were into it much yourself then. So, like NMRA, NMCA, I don't think we're even formed yet. So,
a bit before that.
Yeah. So, like, again, we were Mustang guys. So, go into Fun Ford. This was Fun Ford stuff. Like, what we looked up to was like the Super Street Outlaw class. So, it was a 10.5 class. Mike Murillo ran that class. Let's see who else. It was Mike Murillo, Kenny Moss, Jimmy Dahl. You might know Jimmy because he still races Ultra Street. And like Brian Clifford. So take those four. All right. Get rid of Murillo because he was Texas based. Nothing against Mike, but take him out of that. The other three, these are like the top four guys in the class. And the other three were Chicago area based cars that were all TRZ cars.
Gotcha. So that you guys were working, maintaining these.
Yeah,
things.
we worked on a couple of them. Like I worked on, this was maybe a little, when I was working there, we were a little bit after that. But that's what got us into that. That's what got TRZ kind of got really well known for that style of car. Most of them they were usually stock suspension cars at the time, but stock suspension on a 28 10.5. These things were for the day lightning fast. Like, I'll say, I remember being at the racetrack when Kenny Moss made like an unofficial record. I want to say he went like an 8:27.
Yeah, it's so fast.
Yeah, at the time, fast. Now, street car fast. Yeah. But, at the time, I remember that happening. I'm like, holy crap, like we were here to see this. And I'm not sure he ever backed it up. I think I was kind of told he never really did, but everyone knew it happened. And
would they have been all like nitrous cars back then?
No. So like Kenny Moss was a Vortec car.
Okay.
Brian Clifford was a nitrous car. I don't think there were really much as far as turbos too much yet. Like Pro 50 had some turbo stuff. So it's kind of, those are the cars that people knew.
That was kind of like X275 of the day, basically, is kind of what it was.
It would have been, yeah, of the day. It's weird. Like you go back in time to that. It feels like it dates me. I'm not that old, but I was young at the time I started working, so we'll split it that way. But like the Pro 50 cars back then were less of a race car than an Ultra Street car is by far now. Like they had to have a factory core support car.
Yeah.
When's the last time you saw an Ultra Street car with a core support at all? It's probably been 10 years.
Yeah. Well, that stuff, they were just had like 850 cages in them, didn't they? Or, you kind of were around when Because what did they come out with 25.5? It wasn't.
25 I wasn't there. 25.2 probably, if I had to guess. But I know most of the time a new car being built, like a Pro 5.0 car, was a 25.1. That was a new thing at the time, and which was kind of like one of the first fast door car certs that was there. Yeah. And so everything, all the magazines, all the top was, we got this new 25.1 build going on, and which obviously is still around and progressed a bunch since then because they're on like a G or something by now. But but now the other 25 stuff wasn't really a thing back then because the cars weren't going that fast. Like even then, I say they weren't going that fast. Pro 5.0 cars were running by the time we were done with it. I think they were shooting for the first 6-second pass. Yeah, so they were rolling out pretty good. Yeah, and they were on like 33, I think. So that'd been a 4-link car. Oh yeah, they were all 4-link cars for sure, and they were usually the turbo cars that were doing that. Which, it was kind of like radial stuff had not emerged yet. Like you had a BFG, which no one used because everyone hated on it. Yeah. So that was like a street tire. And then everyone else ran the slicks. So, you were a big tire, like a 33, or you're a small tire with a 28. And that was both of those classes. So that's kind of like what we grew up learning on, like even when me and Todd got to this bit, well, I'll have to get back to that. Yeah. When me and Todd got this business, radial stuff didn't even exist. Yeah. So you're working at TRZ, right? You're just basically probably cutting apart cars, sweeping the floor, welding a bit. Welding parts, working on cars. We had a couple of cars that we were doing some turbo stuff, doing some turbo fab, which was neat, some nitrous stuff, just whatever needed to be done. How racers are. Like they show up last minute, unprepared, need everything. They need 30 hours worth of work, but they've only got 5 and get it done. That was the same thing then. And this was, like I started working there and it was 2002 or 2003, right? Like maybe January 1st, 2003. So nothing changed. It's been 20 years since then. Nothing changed. That's when I first got the job open, Was he making any production parts at the time? Yeah. Oh yeah. So like the A-arms that most people know us for, he's been making those since, I'll say 95, 96. Oh, wow. Yeah. Like the Camaro arms, like the 68, 69 Camaro. I want to say, someone can correct me if I'm wrong. Nick Scavo had a 69 Camaro that I'm fairly certain that he pretty much prototyped these arms on that car or for that car. I don't know how it all went down, but I'm pretty sure that was the first car with him. Which that was, I think, an NSCA car that he ran that in. After, if you look him up, he had this Impala that was Thomas Sleeper way back in the day, ran the fastest street car stuff. Yeah. But I want to say that was like the first set, but if I'd say 95, 96. That's cool. I could be a little wrong, but that stuff's been out there forever. What was the ordering procedure like back then? I mean, you had to call them. Like, did they do like the COD where like you would get shipped to somebody, they had to give the check, or how did that work? Well, it went that way. Yeah. Like it was, I don't know how credit card processing worked back then because you didn't, like this was before. Yeah, they had that thing where they put that. Yeah, you got mail your credit card in and swipe it. Yeah, I'm not really sure how that went down. I mean, I was just thinking like all the stuff we take for granted now. Like, oh yeah, to mail order parts would be like, that's kind of tough. Yeah, I never asked that early. Like even when I was doing it, when I was working there, it was all COD because you get screwed a couple of times on people with a credit card that are shady and. I get why he was like, nope, I'm doing all COD because for the most part, you kind of have to have an exchange both ways and you can't, as long as you get paid, they can't just take it back, but people can still send a check that. Yes, no good. Yeah, it doesn't, and they already got the part. So it's kind of, you're still taking a risk as a business owner the way. And like, even when we purchased this, we kept that up for a little while. Just knowing how the business was. So did Todd come to work at there? So Todd never worked there. No, so 03, I worked there. I worked there for only about 5 or 6 months. And I quit from there when me and my wife were getting married. She went to school to be a teacher. And when she graduated, there were no jobs like Illinois, Indiana, Wisconsin, Missouri, Iowa. Okay. So she went to school in Bloomington, Illinois. It's in middle Illinois, middle of cornfield. out of that school, like almost nobody could really get jobs. There were a few here and there because it was kind of the age where like the baby boomer generation was still working a lot. So they weren't retiring yet. And they're like, we're going to be like 5 years. So I had a friend of mine I went to University Tech with that had moved down to Orlando. And it was like, you guys should come here. Like, we need teachers. So just, we went down, we checked it out.
The weather's better.
Well, yeah, for the most part. There's 3 months a year that suck, but the rest, you don't have to deal with shovel snow. So that's a bonus, right?
Yeah.
But no, it's like her whole deal with that. I was like, you went to school for 4 years and we're going to get married here. Doesn't feel fair for me to be like, well, sorry, you just don't have a job doing what you want to do. She had a job. She actually was offered a very good paying job at the machine shop that we worked at. The owner of the company loved her. But he's like, I know this is what you want to do. But if you decide that you're not going to do that, you got a job here. She's kind of like, I went to school. Like, it doesn't matter. If I was like, no, let's just go. And I mean, we had things all set up and it was like, we didn't know what we were doing until about 2 days before we got married. And by this point, I'd been working on all my friends' cars, all my family's cars. And I kind of got to that point of being burnt out and working on everyone else's shit.
Yeah, I feel that.
Most people that work on cars, you get that point at some. It just happens. And I got to it and I came home and like, you know what? Let's just go. We got an apartment ready for us, but no jobs. This is like we get married on Friday. This is like Tuesday or Wednesday.
That's cool.
It was like, okay. Like,
yeah,
I guess we're doing this.
We're going to Disney World.
Yeah, essentially. Yeah, that's what it was. So, we go on our honeymoon, we come back, we pack, we came back on Saturday. We drove on Sunday and we moved down and I got enough money to last like 5 months. And we made it work. She got a job in like 2 days. I got a job in like a week building, bicycles.
Okay.
Or tricycles technically, but we're like,
we love tricycles right here. There's a belt back there where we would for the tricycle.
I know,
race.
not that. I'd say not that cool of a tricycle. This is like,
sounds like TRZ needs to get back into build tricycles.
I did it for a while there. We built these, like they call them recumbent tricycles. The ones you lay down on and you pedal with your feet up in the air.
Yeah. Like they're like beach
2 wheels in the front.
Yeah.
No, I mean, these were kind of like racing ones. They were actually
all right.
They were the top of the line.
Tricycle.
Recumbent tricycle. So it was cool. It was an Orlando based company. So
that is cool.
it was really neat, but it wasn't my thing. But we moved there. So I quit TRZ in Chicago, moved down there, and I kept in touch with Tom and the guys from there. And this was July. I want to say it was it was Bradenton and MRA. So February, March.
Yeah.
The following year, I'm talking to him. He's like, I should have made it more worth it for you to stay. It's like, I didn't realize how easy you made it for me and the other guys there. Because I was a young guy. I was new coming in there, but I understood how things work. I understood a little bit more of the manufacturing maybe than some of they did.
Well, because you're previous. Yeah,
exactly. And it's just always worked that way in my head. Like things made sense in a certain order. And he's like, I don't think I want to do this anymore. So we kind of talked about it for a while. A couple months went by and he calls us up and he's like, I made a decision. He's like, I don't want to do this anymore. I want to deal with it. I want to deal with people. I want to deal with running this. I want to go and do something else. He's like, so either I let this business fizzle out or you buy it from me. Like, that's it. I'm like, oh,
okay. Sweet.
Like, I wasn't even looking for this. And I get a call like, you're going to buy this company. I'm like, oh.
Yeah. And I live in Orlando.
Yeah, exactly. That's kind of what it was. So, he was talking to me and my dad was, looking to kind of retire early a little bit from what he was doing. So we talked about it and we're like, yeah, like it was a fair offer, where the business at the time had kind of been, I want to say he let it go in a way. Like he wasn't real good with talking to customers or necessarily the best at shipping parts on time. I don't know that he ever technically screwed anyone over on stuff, but I know that sometimes people may have been held out for 4 months or so.
Yeah. Took a while to get the product.
Kind of typical chassis shop style stuff.
Yeah.
And it's just the way this industry is. Like there's way fewer companies that are honest. And I wouldn't say that he was dishonest by any means because I never saw it, but he
spread too thin.
Yeah, that's exactly what it was. He kind of got to the point where he was done. So we're like, okay, so we did this. We bought it knowing that we were going to have to do some repairs on the customer side. which really was very well received. Like when people called and talked to us, like, no, like this, we are the same company, but we're not the same company.
Yeah, we got all the same awesome products that he's had for years, but we're the customer service is a bit better.
Right. And we were we wanted to focus on the parts more. Like I didn't really want to work on cars, but it took a little while. So we bought that beginning of 2005. So man, we're starting our 20th year doing this now.
That's awesome.
It's crazy.
Oh, yeah, you've seen a lot of stuff in 20 years.
Yeah. So we do that. We move it down. I worked alone for 9 months.
So you had to just to move that deal, I guess you bought all of his tools and stuff? Or?
So we got everything besides the lathe. So we got the bender, the welder, notcher, bandsaws, all the fixtures, all that stuff, So it was enough to make, we made A-arms for the early Camaros, the Chevelles, and the second gens.
Do you still use the same jigs?
Some of them.
That's cool.
The early Camaro ones, we still use, I've almost done no modifications to them. Those things have been tried and true. We did make a change to the lower A-arms maybe a year and a half ago of those just to make it better with the bolting coilover stuff. Yeah. But outside of that, no, that's still the same stuff.
That's really cool. So really those arms have been, you've been making, or, TRZ in general has been making them arms for 30 years.
Going on 30 years-ish. Yeah. They changed. He had made a couple of changes early on. When they first did them, they were doing the screw-in Mopar ball joints because that was kind of what you could use. Yeah. And then he made that billet-upper ball joint cup. So once he did that, it made it where all the GM stuff was simple. So that helped that. I never knew the previous version really. I've had a few come through the shop for people to have me check out, but I look at wow, this is okay. It's just
where did you find this?
Yeah. When people call I've got your arms, but they've got screw-in ball joints. What? Nick will be no, that's not ours.
Yeah, they might be.
If they're old. Yeah. If he says he bought them before 2000, good chance. Yeah. So it was.
What a cool heritage, man. That's awesome. I didn't really realize that it's been going on that long, right? That's a long time.
There's only a few people that we talked to that were oh, I knew you guys when you were in Chicago. I'm really? It's, that's been a long time, and it's some of them, they were customers usually on the chassis shop side of things, and then now we purposely right now, we only really work on parts.
So when you moved the business to Florida, you packed up all Tom's stuff, cleaned out his shop, moved it down there.
We fit it all in a single rider rental truck.
Okay.
So it was probably 3 times the weight of what it was supposed to be.
Yeah, it's all heavy metal. Yeah. And then you move it to Orlando. Did you buy a building? Did you rent a building?
No, we rented this was 2005. So from 2005 to 2012, we rented a shop. We had a 3,000 square foot shop. Okay. And we built the parts out of it. And I didn't do a lot of work on cars, but you were asking when Todd got involved. So we moved in beginning of 2005, and then my brother Todd moved down towards the end of 2006. Okay. He was going through some stuff up here. I can't say here up
You're a little farther.
Yeah, we're close. Yeah, closer than we're closer than we were. Yeah. So he was going through some stuff, and he was I need a change. I was I need some help. And I had hired one guy, so it was me and my guy Jose, and then Ty came down. Ty came down kind of right at the perfect time. My wife was pregnant. We were having our son, so our oldest kid, and he came just before that. And a big part of that was I can't afford childcare. You know, and I kind of need some help. So he came down. I trained him up real quick on a little bit of stuff. And then I was all right, you get to work during the day and then I'm going to work at night. And
so back then, you were just you though. You were building all the stuff, shipping all the stuff. Just a one-man band.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. My dad would fly down, he'd fly down for a week every 4 or 5 weeks, and help just catch up. And he would do he would take the phone a lot. I'd transfer the phone over to him and he'd kind of do that and take some orders from up there.
Man, what a lot, Mike, because then you didn't, I guess you would have had a website by then, but
when we bought it, he actually had a website, so that was kind of nice.
That is nice. But I mean, back then though, people probably didn't trust that near as much. So it wasn't like, I mean, we still, I'm sure, I mean, I know you guys are too on the phone a lot, talking to people, but like there was really no hands off ordering back then. So you were still probably having to talk to a lot of people, take their order, build their order, box that order and ship it out. I mean, that's a lot of work, brother. I mean, yeah.
It was. And it was kind of something, we knew we were getting into it. I knew what I was getting into. My wife was kind of like, it sounds like a lot, but
then you knock her up.
Yeah. Well, that happened. Well, that was funny because like we were in Chicago signing the paperwork for our first building. Like we already bought the company, and me and a friend of mine flew up and my wife flew up, and we were kind of working at the shop, just trying to get a handle on how everything worked before we packed it up to leave. But we didn't have a shop yet. So like I signed the paperwork midnight before I leave, and my dad throws it in the mailbox. We drop it in the mailbox. All right, it's done. We're done. We got it. It'll be there. We're driving home, and it was like, so we drove to Chicago, right? Driving back, we're probably right around here. And she's like, I think I want to have kids. I'm like, now? Like, right now?
Yeah.
Like, you realize? I'm like, whatever, okay.
So you pull over to the side of the road.
Yeah. What? It's going to happen that quick. I already told you, he wasn't born till the end of 06. I got her all off a little bit, but
your first boy was built in Kentucky.
Yeah. I never would have thought of that like that.
That's funny.
But yeah, so Todd came down when I started working at night, to make that happen.
Yeah.
And that was probably the time that we actually, we grew a bit. Like we were not very, like we kept up with what we needed to do. We paid our bills. We were never behind on anything. Once Todd got there was really when we really started doing more credit card stuff, because you were kind of asking about that, with Tom. And we did COD for probably almost a year, maybe a little bit more. And we were still new on taking credit cards and handling that, because it was hard. Like QuickBooks sucks.
Yeah.
So handling it through that, and then me doing all this, like it was easier for my dad to take the order and we ship it and we get a check, and that made sense. When Todd came in, he was able to handle a lot more of that. So he kind of he made sure the phone was answered, orders were taken. And that's kind of when we started growing a little bit. And at the same time, we kind of realized that we need to branch out a little more, not as far as the work we're doing, but we need to reach more people. That's a big thing, because when you're small, advertising is hard to justify, because, I'm not sure if you guys have ever done like a print ad in anything.
No, I mean, that's kind of like,
it's all before your time.
Yeah. I mean, it even say you're talking to you, I'm like, man, we need to do a couple of these, because this is so interesting to me. Just the back then, you would have had to do that print ad. Like, man, I don't even know what that's like. It's just interesting.
I don't know that I could say that many print ads really felt like they did anything, but I don't think that much advertising in general ever really, like, we've never had anyone like, oh man, I saw your ad and whatever. It's like, they just call and act like they know what they need, and you move on, so it's hard to justify whether or not that worked, but it is. But like we knew we needed to do more. So that's when we started going to more events, going to races, and we sponsored NMCA for a while. My parents did a lot of traveling, and they went to every event and set up just to kind of get our name out there. And this whole time, like this was probably 07, we started doing that. And we were in Bradenton for an MCA, and we met two of our best friends now at the same event. So we met Eric Kenward. He came over to buy some stuff for his wagon that was doing big dumb wheelies way back then. Yeah. And Jamie Stanton. So Jamie, we met in the most magnificent fashion. That could be a story for a different time whenever you want to do that. But between Jamie and Eric, we still use those cars to this day as ways of learning what we're doing, test beds. Eric was kind of always easy to like, hey, we want to do this. And he was close, right? So he only lived like an hour and a half from us. So like, hey, we've got this dumb idea. It's like, I'll load up the car and come up. Cool, let's do it. So we started working on his car, getting some stuff done. And he ran at the time. It was Florida Real Street.
Okay.
Florida Real Street 275. So that was.
Is that on that That was on a radial then.
It was a radial. That was like the first legitimate radial class. So John Sears, I don't know if you knew that John used to live in South Florida.
Oh, I didn't know that.
John started that class. I think he was part of it. I'm not sure if he was the one that started it. He'll hang me if I say it wrong, but he was pretty much in charge of that deal. And this was about the time, I think, right when we met Eric. They'd been running it for like a year or two, maybe a little bit more. And John moved up to Virginia, and that's when he kind of started X275. So it was kind of the same rule set. So like what we ran and what they ran were about the same thing when X just started. So there was a lot of, I guess, a huge innovation that needed to happen to make those tires work, and we got in with Eric, who had a combination, and he made enough power that we could go fast with it. But it was a stock suspension G-body station wagon. Like it's like the worst thing you could think of to build. Like people that like wagons, that's cool and all, but like
it's a terrible car.
Yeah, it's just not the most ideal thing. But we didn't really realize at the time that really it helped us a lot because of the dumb wheelies that the thing would do out of nowhere because of the big roof and all the glass in the back. But it made us learn how to really tune this stuff and learn what it needs. We went through so many iterations on that car, and then we were, I don't want to say that we were the first ones to do a lot of these things, but, as far as we knew of, we're like the first ones on 275 to go a 120 anything 60 foot. We were the first ones with him to go a 119 60 foot. And then go to Jamie as we're working on this stuff. He was the first one that we know of. Like, there's always no time cars and stuff that always say they go faster, and they may have. But he was the first one to go 109 60 foot on 275. And this is like across the board first. So we're like, okay, it's like we kind of got a little bit of a handle of what we're doing with this. And that drove all the new products. Like we learned what we needed. Like,
you were making about a necessity.
Yeah, absolutely. Like we learned on Eric's car, the biggest thing we learned was like the anti-roll bars that people were using at the time. Like he had one from someone. It was inch and a quarter bar, just like many are still made. But this thing, we realized after a while, like we're messing with it. Like something's wrong. Like this just doesn't work. I don't know if it's a car or whatever. So I had the shop, and I just took it out. I laid it on the ground, and this thing's all twisted up. I'm like, holy crap. Like this is probably the problem we've been fighting for like 3 months. And you don't know it because when you're looking at it in the car, it doesn't look messed up.
Yeah.
And the car's it's not like, tracking right. It's not doing all the dumb stuff like that. It's doing a lot of weird things. And that's when we made like our bigger tube bar, not the twin tube, not the Girth Brooks that people know of, but we made the bigger one, and we put that in, and it solved the problems of the car. So we're like, it was like the big moment. Like,
it's like, it needs more anti-roll bar.
Exactly. Like, now it sounds so simple to think, but it didn't exist. Like, it just didn't happen. This was like an 08, like no one had anything like that. If you had an inch and a quarter anti-roll bar, it was like, that was a big one, It's just weird.
It is funny to think about that though. Cause now you like any stock suspension car that we build or mess with, or you guys mess with, it's like, man, I think it needs a big anti-roll bar.
Oh yeah.
We just take that information though for granted. Like you were there.
Well, that's it. Like now you just know, like people ask like, when do I need this one or that one? Like if you don't have one, buy the best thing you can, because you can't put something like, when it comes to an anti-roll bar especially, you cannot put one in a car that's going to hurt you.
You can't over anti-roll bar.
No. Only thing is if you're trying to do something that's like you're trying to get the car to 2,100 pounds and you need that 1 pound out of back there. Yeah. And you think that's going to be the part that makes the difference, then okay, fine. If that's what you think, you go for it. But,
yeah.
It's, like that. Eric's car drove a lot of the innovation that we had to do, come up with all this stuff. Like we had a wishbone on that car years ago because basically the car just, at the time, the chassis was a bucket of crap. So it was all over the place. So we put the wishbone on it to counteract how bad the roll bar was and how bad the car was.
Yeah.
And it fixed it. It did help it, but then it got to a point where everyone, we went fast. So you know how this goes.
Yeah.
Everyone's like, you can't have that. That didn't come on there. That wasn't stock. Like, okay, fine. So we'll take it off. And we had already done the roll bar, so I wasn't worried about it. And Eric was very like, I'm kind of afraid to run this because it's predictable with it on. And
yeah.
You'll be fine. We went through everything. We've reinforced all the stuff, take it off, and it's like, holy crap! And like it didn't change. I'm like, yeah, it's just 40 pounds lighter in the back because this thing was gigantic.
Yeah, big. Yeah. Well, it's funny. It's like that. That's still like an argument on the internet all the time. Is like, when you take the triangulation of the lever, like there's like 50% of people that are like, it needs an NRL bar. The other 50 needs a wishbone. The other 50 are like, no, it doesn't. I'm like, man, it doesn't. That's fine without a wishbone.
Why you didn't take your uppers and also
do that to it? Yeah,
you're good to go. Oh yeah, but that's like kind of. I put a lot on Eric. Disclaimer for anyone that thinks this, and Eric will back me up. So many people for so long thought Eric owned TRZ Motorsports because he was kind of like the face of it. He did a lot. He still does a lot for us. He always runs our stuff. He always talks well about us. He sells a lot of stuff. Eric does not own us. Does not work for us. just to clear that up.
Well, you guys you're similar in age, are you?
No, I'm 42. Eric's 51.
Oh, okay. He's okay. Man, Eric looks great for 51. Not to say you look bad for 42, but yeah.
I'm about to ask. You're throwing me under the bus here.
Yeah. So I'm 35. So we're. But yeah, that is cool, man. That I knew that Eric had a lot to do with it, right? Like just helping with some stuff. That's cool to hear like how he was, and like, man, Eric helps us out a lot. Like we're idiots also and have a 4-door car. So, he made us doors, which was great. But he does other stuff too. And Jamie Stanton, I mean, what a competitor, man. I mean, what a long and fruitful career,
Jamie's done a lot. He's gone a long ways. This gold car he's got has been, probably what most people know him for.
Yeah.
But like when we met him, he had I want to say a 70 or 71 Chevelle, this copper Chevelle. I think he still has it. It's a street car. I want to say it was one of his high school cars.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, like when I said we met him in a pretty spectacular way, we're sitting in the vendor section at Bradenton, which is like right at the end. At the time, we were like right at the end where the pit road comes up and makes that turn on the staging lanes. If you missed the turn, you'd run into us. So we're like right up there up against the roadway. And we see this guy coming up at us with a golf cart. And we're like, man, he's like kind of pointing at us. It's by himself, but he's just like pointing at us. Yeah. What do we do? Like, who is this guy? Like, man, I don't know how we would have pissed anyone off, And he comes up and slides his golf cart up and stops in front of us. And he hops up. He's like, I need your guys' help. I'm like, oh, this is going better already.
Yeah, right.
And he had a rack on his car, and things dropping all over the place. I had major pump steer problems. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. Like, what do you think you need? He's like, I think I need these steering arms. I'm like, well, let's see. I'm like, just take me down there. So I grabbed a set, and me and Todd hopped on a golf cart with him. We drive down, and he's got like spacers like this big for his pump steer spacers. Yeah. Like, that's the problem. I'm like, okay. He's like, I got like 9 minutes to get this done.
Yeah. Can you align this car in 9 minutes?
Not only did we do that, it was like, take the car, like, it was all together. He's like, we got to be in the lanes. Like, all right, cool. And it was just him and his dad, Jake, his buddy Jake that normally works with him wasn't down at this race. And I'm like, cool. We just start ripping stuff apart. We put these on. The rack he's got in the car is way too long to make fit. It was like, threads are overlapping. I'm like, oh man. All right. So we'll cut some stuff, cut all this, align it with the tape measure. I mean, perfect as can be. We get that. And so it was like, we come back. He's like, I like you guys. I'm like, well, that's good. Like, you're from New York, and that could go a couple different ways. Now Jamie, we're good friends with him. Like, we hang out quite often. So, and we've continued helping him with his new car, all the way through. Like this, he had at least one other car in between it, but like, that gold car is what we've learned a lot with. I'd say a lot of the 4-link stuff between him and Frank.
Yeah.
We've learned a lot of that. So that's like our stock suspension stuff was mainly Eric with the wagon, and, the purple car that Bruce Roberts has, we got to do a lot of stuff with that. And then that's all stock suspension. And then we get to this stuff with the 4-link. So it's kind of like, we've had some good customers and some good friends that let us do some bad ideas.
Yeah. But as
long as it's justifiable, it's usually like, okay, like, I think we'll try this. And it is. Sometimes you're like, that was terrible. Like, let's scratch that off the list, and we're never going to try that again.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's like that. One of the things that I think that makes you guys such a solid business in the race car parts is you do see a lot of people that make stuff that really aren't out there racing and doing a lot. And like, nothing against those guys, but like you and your brother and your family, like you eat, sleep, and breathe racing. You're out there like with customers, like trying to figure stuff out, proving out the product, seeing whether there's a need. I mean, it's such a similar story to Brad does. It's like, you just make parts because you need them.
Yeah.
And when we came along, we've only been doing this 8 years. So like there was a lot of stuff that was already figured out, right? Like, but there was some stuff that we wanted to expand on or whatever. But, so, when you move to Florida and you're already making some of the stuff, you're expanding the product line, you're still doing chassis work though. Did that just kind of happen? Like, cause you said you wanted to do parts, but the chassis work was probably like, oh, this guy wants to pay me and it's probably not a bad idea to do it.
There was a little bit of that. I was warned by Tom, like, don't be working on cars because people suck. And he's not wrong. Like there's so many people in the world that just suck. And I realize at this point that I need to work on some cars because like just making parts is going to leave us with just these parts, So like, yeah, you need a car to develop a product, but you need to work with someone that has a problem. Like again, like Kenworth Steel, we got to find an issue and figure out how to fix it. And working on the cars helps. And then it's like, okay, you do that. And then you get a whole slew of people like, can you do that to my car? Yeah. We were still young at the time. And I say new, we're still growing for ourselves. We were new. I was like, so you kind of undersell yourself. Like, yeah. I'll do that. It doesn't cost that much. You spend a bunch of time, you do it. It works for a bunch of people. And then everyone expects everything for that same price. So you get that like roller coaster of the customers where it's like, everyone wants to come to you, but then no one wants to pay more than their friend did.
Yeah.
It's like, well, that's different now, and that's a weird part of business to have to deal with. Right. So, you do what you can and you always end up getting in like everyone I know that's not a chassis shop. I'm sure you guys have had it happen to where you're in over your head, not that you're doing more than you could take on, but what ends up being is like, you get some customers that are so jonesed up about coming in. Like, all right, I'm going to get my car in there. Like, I need to do a 10-point bar. Cool. And bring it in. And hey, while it's there, can you do this? And it's like,
yeah,
you got morals, right? So you don't want to just tell people just straight up, like, no, I'm going to be cold about it. But like, that you can't do it, but you're going to do it anyway. So then it's like, well, then you're working 16 hours a day.
Yeah.
Then you do this all week, all month. And by the end of the month, they're like, I worked all this, but we don't have, as a business, any more money. So we didn't get anything out. So that's where like the burnout of the chassis shop stuff starts. And we learned early enough on, like, that's not where we want to go. So we're going to work on cars that we want to work on, not work on cars for customers, like just for anybody.
Yeah.
And a lot of people took that kind of wrong way, but like, this is the way our business works. Like we pay, like we've got, so I started, it was me and our guy, Jose and Todd. So there's 3 of us, but we've got 10 or 11 people now. So we've got a lot of families. Yeah, but there's a lot of families that rely on us to make the right decision to make sure they have money on their, in their bank account. And, so it got to a point where it was like, if we stop working on cars and just focus on parts, it's not the money side of things. It's the stress level, like,
I get it.
As a whole.
Yeah.
It's like, all right, we get orders, we get online orders, we get, people calling, we get very few people that come in, which is kind of nice. But we've got a pretty good flow. Everything just kind of works, and you throw one car into it right now and it just disrupts the whole system because we've all got used to not doing that. And, we went away where it was like, if I don't want to work on a car, I just bought a machine and put it where the car was and I can't work on a car there anymore. So now we've got shop full of CNC equipment where we started out with a bandsaw, and I didn't have a lathe the first year I started working. Can you imagine doing anything with all this round stuff and not have a lathe?
No, well, we didn't either. I mean, like when you're talking, it's just, your story is so similar to ours. Like it's there's differences, right? But like started off not having a lot of tools, and, my wife, it's funny, like, we had just had Isaiah when we started the business. So I had a young daughter, and then like not long later, then Ibby came along, and, you're working all these hours and trying to figure this stuff out. And to your point, you're exactly right. Like you work all these hours and you're like, well, I worked all this time. Where the heck's the money at?
Oh yeah.
And, you do that over and over again, and that is where the burnout comes from. And then for us, like, it definitely, obviously you're here today, we're working on stuff today, trying to get stuff finished out. You're right. Like, it does throw like a wrench in the gear. And that is like, if we kind of go on the soapbox of the chassis shop, like, that's why you see people stepping out, is because it is like, they're not bad people. Like so many people complain about getting screwed and stuff, which they do. I get that happens.
There's a legitimate chassis jail.
Absolutely.
That's a thing.
That happens, but you do get to a point where like, you just don't care. Like, you're like, the money, I can invest my time in something else that's just far more fruitful than working on this car. And we're to that point, right? Like, and people do get upset when you're like, cause they're like, well, there's cars out in your shop, you're clearly working. It's like, well, I am, but like, these are people that I've known for a long time. They're people that are going out and improving our product. Like, yeah, you know what I mean? Like, it just is.
I had that conversation with a guy, and he goes, am I not good enough for you guys to work on my car? I'm like, no, like, really? Like,
I don't know how else to say it.
Well, like, it wasn't that way, but it was like, we're not going to gain anything growing as a company by doing a 10-point in your car. And the whole point was like, I knew he was one of the walls that's theirs, and I'm like, I promise you, I'll do this cage in your car. I will do it. That's all I'm doing.
Yeah.
Like, yep, I'm good. And then you call like a week later, like, hey, I'm supposed to come in next week. You think you could do the seat mount and a cross member for this? And no. Yeah. And I'm like, I got to a point where I'm like, all right, this is the point where I'm going to fire you as a customer, because I know that I'm not going to be able to meet the expectation that you have of what you want done. Like, if I do the work, it's going to be good work, but I'm going to do what I told you I'm going to do. I'm not going to do the extra stuff because I don't have time in my schedule to do it. Because if I start doing that, I can't do all the other stuff. And, when you're working on a car and you also have to do tech support on the phone, because there's, we've got great customers. Like, our customers that call in, for the most part, they know what they want. They've got an idea what they want. Not necessarily, they don't know like, I need this part number and this, but they know what they're doing and what they want to do. And, we're there to kind of coach them on that. They're like, all right, this is where you're at now. This is where you're going. We would recommend doing this. So it sometimes gets into a little bit longer of a talk. Like, sometimes an order now takes 4 or 5 minutes. Sometimes it takes 30, 40 minutes.
Yeah, it just depends on.
Sometimes it takes 30, 40 minutes, like 3 times before it's actually an order. But that's what we do, because we've got the experience from working on the cars to do it. So it's like, you take all that, and the whole time you're going, I need to be working on this car out here. So then there's the stress level of it. And it's why we've pretty much moved on to parts only. We work on car. I'll work on a car that I want to work on, like I still do it. We've got, a couple of local guys that I'll work on some stuff for. I'll go to their shop and work on, which is the greatest thing in the world, because when I'm done, I sleep. Yeah, but I'll do that because it's what I want to do. And it's usually like developing a new part. Like, we've got a local pro mod racer that was in desperate need of a new anti-roll bar. So like the billet arm anti-roll deal that we have, like, I designed that, and I had designed for a while, never really made it, but he needed it. So we made it. And I went out to his shop and took apart his car, and we put it on that, and we tested that for months before I even ever released it to anybody. It was like, we need to make sure everything's right. And he let me do all that, and we got it out and proved that it can handle, going fast and terrible tire shake and, all this
all
stuff.
The things.
Yeah. And we're like, well, this is like, we can't test it on anything better, but I'll go and work on his car. He's building a new car at the moment, and I plan to go help him work on that car too, because, I like this guy, Mike, and, he's nice to work with. He's got a nice shop to go work in. It's nowhere near me, which which sucks, but it's outside of cell service, which is kind of nice because I just don't get bugged. You know, you go there and it's just it. So it's like it's easy to do. And you know, with what I do now, like I mainly do, I more so do most of the design side of stuff now. So since I guess we can introduce Kevin Neal here at some point on this thing.
Yeah, I got a way to introduce Kevin. So the one I do want to give you a compliment though about your designs and stuff. Like that anti-roll bar with the lobe is like, gosh, like that's one of those things that you see and you're like, why the heck did we not always do it like that? Like that was a great idea. And like now, I mean, there's 3 or 4 people that are doing it. And it's like, because spawning one was such a pain.
It is. Well, and that's what I came out of. I'm like, I want to do it a little bit of my arm, but I don't have enough stuff to spline things. So I'm like, but I have end mills. Like I can make this shape and they'll do the same thing. And like I found we design a lot now, or like a lot of our product development is based on our capabilities. You know, like I'm not big on having other people make stuff for me. Like I do a lot. I'll say I do a lot of it. But once we started buying our own equipment, it's like we bought a little 2-axis lathe and I had that thing for 2 years, but I still have it. I've had it for 10 years. I had it for 2 years before we got a mill. Yeah. But that changed stuff like our steering columns. Like we've done those adjustable height steering columns for, I'd have to say 15 years more than. I actually made that for one of Eric's cars, oddly enough. And we used to do it with a big Com bearing. It was like a Com 20 inch quarter bearing, Com 20 bearing. We do it with that and that would allow it to move. And then once I bought the lathe, I was like, I don't need to weld this big, heavy bearing into this plate. So I made that little ball. Yeah. And we sandwich it in there and it does everything it needs to do. But I couldn't have done that. I couldn't have justified paying another machine shop to make them for me. I didn't know if it was going to be worth it or not, you know?
Yes.
And now we design everything around what we have. So, you know, we go from a 2-axis lathe to a 3-axis mill to a 4-axis mill to a 5-axis mill to a 9-axis lathe. Like we've got some capabilities to make a lot of cool stuff. And when you're designing stuff, you're like, can I make this? And that gets us to that point. So it definitely changes things. And that arrow bar was definitely one of those things. Like, how can we make this where we can make it? Yeah.
No, it was genius. I mean, and I think like everything that I look at that you guys make, like I love it because it's not overly complicated. It's like straight into the point and it works awesome.
Well, like that's good to hear.
Well, you do. I mean, you know, like it's, you know, anything we've ever got from you guys, like it's, you know, the finish is nice. It's, you know, and it is. It's like sometimes I see stuff that people make and it is beautiful, but it's like, man, that's so complicated for that. You know, like
a lot of people in our industry, I think are very artsy.
Yeah. You know? Which is a good thing. I think.
Yeah, no, for sure. Like, so, but, and that has its place, but sometimes people want simple. Like I like a simplistic approach because simple is generally easier to maintenance, easier to install, you know, being less complicated means there's less problems. And overall, a simple design is generally a lightweight design. Yeah. So, I mean, sometimes I guess you could be like, you know, someone makes a 4-link bracket and they put no holes in it and it's 3/8, like it's got 4 or 5/8 holes in it. And you're like, well, you didn't do any work trying to make this any lighter. Yeah. So it's overly simplified, you know, so there's that end of it too. But
no, you really honestly, you really remind me of Brad a lot in that way. Like I think the two of you really do think simply and effectively. And, and, you know, a lot of that goes back to being at the racetrack is like, if I have to fix this thing in 30 minutes, like, cause we're going to be back up there, what's the easiest way for me to do that? What's the less stuff I have to deal with? Yep. But that, kind of bring Kevin into the picture. So Brad and I, we started 8 years ago. We were building a car for a guy named Jack Vanover, which that was a mutual friend. And Mike, it was our first ever really race car we ever built, which that sounds insane to say that we built our first race car 8 years ago, which a lot of people probably wouldn't believe that. Me and my wife were laughing about that the other night. And, you know, we're building this car. We really have not a lot of idea what we're doing. And you helped Jack with you know, with the housing, internal bar. We got all this whole delivery of parts from you guys. And, you know, we, to build the car, you know, that we're still 8 years ago, even there still wasn't a lot on Facebook about that kind of stuff. We still went to yellow.
Yep.
So we like just stalked your build thread of Kevin's car.
Yep.
And, you know, and then we're like, I don't know, the chassis is pretty much done with the thing. And Kevin actually comes into our shop. He's coming to meet Jack, and Kevin just strolls in like Kevin does. And, he's like, is Jack here? And I'm like, no, he's not. He's on his way. He's like, okay, I'll just hang out. And, just like, you know, like just Kevin. And, you know, Brad and I both were like, hey, is that Kevin Neal? Like, I think it is. And, but anyway, like Kevin ended up, you know, he's such a great person. I love hanging out with him. And you guys did that car for him, which it was, I mean, really did a lot of really cool things that not a lot of people had done at the time.
That car, well, let's back up from that car. I can tell you how I met Kevin.
All right. I'd like to hear that.
So Kevin's always been good friends with Jason Rickert, whichever way you want to call that. VP Jason.
Yeah.
People don't understand.
Pooch.
Yep. Pooch. We were friends with Jason for a long time. Met him actually at World Street Nationals one year. He was just down hanging out and came over. He's like, I ordered some ARs from you guys, and I never got them. I'm like, oh, so he was one of the previous, not
okay, got it.
Not us. And it all got handled, so he was happy, whatever. We got to be friends with Jason, see him for years. This was like 2005 that we met Jason. So I meet Kevin, I want to say it was either 2009 or 2010. We're in Georgia, and he was like, this is when X275 was around. Maybe X was going 490s. Maybe.
Yeah. Maybe, yeah.
They had a class that was Outlaw 275. It's not Pro 275, there was some other thing. Outlaw 275, which was 275 first 28. And he was probably, I gotta say, he had to be, if he wasn't the only, he could have been one of two running a 28. And in Georgia at the time, this was like 2010. So it was one of the cold years, and it was the cold year. Actually, I don't know if you guys even have been there. I think the high this year was like 42 degrees the whole week.
Oh, that is cold.
Yeah, it was cold. And he heard something in his motor. He could tell you better. Heard something, broke tiny chain, messed up much stuff, overnight in parts. So we're hanging out back when that race was a lot more hang out and partying than it was racing. Yeah, there was some racing going on, but it was a lot of other fun. So we're hanging out at night, and him and Jason are pitted together, and we kind of migrated around Kevin because he was working all night long. And he had these like halogen heat lamps. That were the only heat source in the whole property. So we're hanging out with that stuff and just talking, whatever. And he got it all fixed. Had an issue the next day. I think he lost oil pressure the next day. But whatever, worked all night. So it was like we met him, talked to him once or twice here or there over the next, I want to say about the year. So this was like the February race. Talked to him a little bit here and there about some stuff. Coming October, I want to say he's the only guy still running a 28 in that class. And he's fast. Like I want to say he was like number 3 qualifier, but he just couldn't get it where he needed to be. Like it was very inconsistent because it was slick on a radial track. And, it was still kind of at that time where no one really knew how to run a slick on that type of prep. So Jason's like, just go talk to them. go down there. And, Kevin, he's not real big on asking anyone for help. And he comes over, kind of motioning over the way he does, hands in his pocket, and, hat pulled down. Like, Jason asked me to come talk to you guys. I was thinking about putting a radial on the car. I'm like, now this is Saturday night. Qualifying's done.
Yeah, we're going to the eliminations. Yeah. We're making a big swing going into eliminations.
Qualifying's over. It's like, he's like, do you think this would be a dumb move to put a radial on this thing now? I'm like, well, yeah, but, I think it's worth trying. He's like, what do we need to do? I'm like, well, first off, you got to find some tires because Mickey Thompson had no tires. I think we got a set of Hoosiers from some guy. And he put them on, and we were working with a different shock company at the time. I'm like, let's put these shocks on here because I know that they'll work. He had QA1s on the car, which he had some circle track guy working on the shocks. His QA1s were amazing. Like they were valved just like a radial should want, but he didn't know it. It was just making things happen. We didn't know where it was. So like, I know these will work. Put these on, put the tires on. Like, if we can get 3 runs, maybe 3 passes, we'll be able to figure this thing out. He's like, you think so? I'm like, well, you need to do something because you're going to go out first round if you do it like this. It's like, all right, I'll do it. So he went and bought some tech cards for like $650. Whatever he could, like he was one of the first ones to run like 3 classes.
Kevin started all that.
Yeah, I blame Kevin. I mean, I'm sure other people did it, but he did this then, and it was like, it was funny because, we go up in the first run. He's like, should we change anything? I'm like, oh, let's just see what it's going to do. Like, these tires are going to tell us what's wrong with the car. So he goes out there and leaves, and, we set it all up, and it leaves and it runs well. I don't remember all the short time numbers on it because this is ways back. But he goes out and it drives right, and he gets out of the groove. All right. He's like, that was not too great. He's like, I think it shook a little bit and it drove out. I'm like, all right, we'll move the roll bar around. We'll do some other things. Like, go out. We'll go out, and his second pass, it spins at like 25 feet. And he goes back and he's all like, man, like, this is a bad idea. I should just put the other tires on. I'm like, no, like, this is perfect. Like, we know it spun right there because, like, I know it didn't have enough tire pressure or the shock wasn't this. I'm like, no, we're good. It's like, looking at me like, it didn't feel good. I'm like, well, it went straight and it spun where we know how to fix it. His third run goes up. We make our changes, goes up, and he goes his fastest pass ever.
That's awesome.
Like, hell yeah. And the funnier part was, Willie.
Yeah.
So Willie flying him up. And I think this was 650 class. And he comes up and he walks up to the other guy because this is like, second round of eliminations for 650. And he goes to that guy. He goes, hey, don't red light. I'm like, we're about to set 650 record right here. Something along those lines. And Kevin goes out, runs at 483, 485, whatever. I don't know what it was. And, he goes on to win that class that year. So we, in one day, switched to a radial, won class.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So it was like, it was a good way to kind of start a good friendship, and then he went on, this was the October race, and he went on that next year, which was, I want to say 2011, and he won like 23 of 26 events he went to. Like he kicked ass that whole year with that great car. Hurt the motor at the end of the year, borrowed one from his buddy Jacob. I don't know if you ever need Jacob or not. Borrowed a motor from him, entered X275. The only time he ever entered X with his car. Won X275 at the October race. Built another motor, put it in the car for the next race, and that's when you probably seen the videos of him flipping that car. I'm like,
yeah.
Like somehow someone made a video that took 8 minutes to watch him flip the car over, but but it was a lot of it. We learned a lot from the video too, so it was kind of cool. But he flipped that. And that's when it started in process building his car. So building that coupe started basically the next week.
I gotcha. And was his old car stock suspension?
It was.
Okay.
Yeah, it was stock. It was very stock suspension.
Yeah.
No torque boxes, like just welded up stuff. There was nothing very special at all. Like he'll tell you, like that car came from behind the dumpster. Like it started life as a throwaway.
That's funny. So you guys started building that. Well, it ended up being blue, but it was like a. It
ended up being calico.
Yeah, when it first came, it had drag lights on it.
Oh yeah. We built that and we documented that on Yellow Ball at the time because we're like, oh, we're going to do this. We're going to pull out every trick that we've seen, everything, and he wanted to make it more race car than we were. I say that like, we should just cut the floor out. We should do all this. I was like. I'm not a big fan of doing all that because in case this one class that you're running right now changes, you could still back yourself into X easily. And it's like, yeah, that makes sense. Let's not build a car that doesn't fit a class. And the floor pan was the only real thing. So yeah, we started on that. And I think we built that car over like 5 months. And, we documented all of it. And, we did a lot of things that people just hadn't done on those cars yet. Now it doesn't even matter to say it because it's just it's standard on everything anymore. So
yeah,
like I remember even when you guys got the car, when you were out for Stu, like, I can't believe this thing still has these floors. Like, it had to.
Yeah.
For that rule at the time, like we couldn't really cut them out. Like no one was really cheating it up so much in the class yet that they would cut them out and throw them away and put new ones in, not in the stock spot. And I'm giving away some people's secrets, but everyone knows how that goes.
Yeah, everybody knows how it works.
Like it's no secret anymore, but it was before people were really doing that. But that car build really is what propelled us from being, like I say, the little guys, and not that we're any bigger than we were, but it made our presence feel much larger. And his car was what did it. So like we had a lot of good customers, but the build of that car just it made us seem like we were a larger place than we were. And, it got a following. Like we'd show up with that thing in Bradenton and people were like flocking around to see it, which was weird because, you get comments on stuff, especially like Yellow Ball, even Facebook same way. You get comments and it's just people that are commenting. But when 5 times as many people that made a comment show up to see this thing, like, wow, that's weird. Feeling. So it's like, maybe we did something right finally, No,
that car was so cool. Like obviously it sat right. That I love that we got to work on it. Like, kind of the history of that car. Like Kevin raced it for a while. Then he ended up selling it to Stewie, but Stu lives in Australia. But Kevin was kind of updating some stuff, and when Stu bought it, he brought it to us, and we kind of finished. We didn't cut out anything that you guys did. We just added. I think we ended up double frame rail on it.
You did, or you modified some of the double frame rail. You redid the floor stuff because it needed that.
Yeah, we never changed the rear suspension or anything though. And I think we put carbon all in it because it had some carbon in it before, but not a ton. And just freshened it up. Really,
made it a little nicer. You took a little bit of Kevin out of it because Kevin was a little rough on that car.
Yeah, he was. Yeah,
if anything to say, he was rough on the car. He did a lot with it, but man, he was doing a lot of his cool nitrous stuff at the time. Like, I guess, we're talking about like everyone knows who Kevin is, but a lot of people don't realize like Kevin's the guy that got everyone started on, unknowingly on his own. Everyone started out running 2-speed 400s.
Yeah.
He got everyone started out running one nitrous kit with a progressive. Like, people had done it and some of the classes needed it, but he was the one that, got people doing real nitrous stuff with it. Like he did his own nitrous thing for a while there.
June bug.
Yeah, June bug nitrous. That's what it was. And
it's what a name.
And the best thing I ever saw anyone say, I know this was probably still back in Yellow Ball, like, before I met Kevin, I used to run fogger jets in my plate, and now I run plate jets in my fogger. And it was like, that sounds like Kevin right there. I was like, I'll put a big jet in this thing and just use the computer to control it. So,
yeah, that's cool.
So he, like, a lot of people don't realize that. And it was funny because before he came to work with us, he's been working on this for like 2 years now. And, he kind of stepped away from racing for a while there, and he hadn't gone to the racetrack. And I bring him down to US Street Nationals in 22, I want to say. And he's like, no one's going to know who I am. He's like, I'm washed up. I'm out of here. I'm like, we'll see. And he had his hat on, had a hoodie on, and every pit we walked past, Kevin?
Yeah.
I was like, oh, hey. It's really weird that people still knew who I was. I'm like, yeah, like you can put yourself down and say that no one knows you, but like you were a big part of where so many of these people are,
Absolutely. He helps so many programs, and I mean, that's the best thing about Kevin. He's so humble, that you would, even this, I told him, we should do a podcast with you too when you're here. And he's like, well, a lot to talk about. I'm like, you totally do.
Yeah.
But now, I mean, so TRZ today, you kind of went through all these transitions. Obviously, you guys just build parks now. You have all these really cool, your guys' shop is so rad with all the equipment and capabilities that you have. So what's TRZ today look like? Like, how many people, all that stuff.
We are now, so I want to say 10 or 11. I'd have to really go back and count. Count my son working there. He's a junior in high school. So he comes in and works, and he's our only part-time worker, I guess. So I think we've got, I'll say it's 11 maybe. It's 11 people now. And I don't see it going any further than that. I really don't want to have any more people. But 11 people, we're only in a 6,200 square foot shop. Most people that do show up from out of town to pull up like that.
I expected more.
Yeah. And this is it. Like this is all of it. Like, you got everybody. Like we work one shift. Like I don't ask people to work on the weekends. I don't ask people to work overtime. It's kind of like all my guys know if stuff needs to get done, they just get it done. You know, if you want to work and get it done, you want to make some more money, work some overtime, it's on you. You know, if you want to do that. If not, then we just hold it off. So we're kind of like I say that we're very open the way we work. Like we don't have you gotta be here at 9 to 5. Like it's like, when you come in, you start getting paid. When you leave, you stop. And it's up to you. You know, like,
pretty simple.
Yeah. Like if you only want to work part time, that's on you. Like it won't last long probably, but but if you got a couple things you got to do, like whatever, like we're easy because, I worked nights for Philosophies. I don't know, for 7 years. Like I didn't have a schedule that made any sense. And then when you add kids into it, it's hard to do it. So I was like, I'm not going to hold that on these guys. Like, they got stuff you got to do. You got some family stuff. You got some personal things. Like, I get it. You do what you got to do, but when you're here, you're here. So that's that. So we got 10, 11 people now. We've got, we got 3 full-time welders, and then my son and one of his friends are part-time welders, which so I have 3 teenagers at home at the moment.
Okay.
2 are mine, and one of them that we inherited recently. And I taught my son, who's 17. I taught him how to TIG weld when he was 8, and he's actually a really good TIG welder. Like if anyone buys any of our front upper coilover mounts, good chance he welded them. So
that's cool.
He's 17 now, so it's not welded by an 8-year-old, but he does all that.
And it gets me excited for like my kids to get older. Like Rickson I don't know if he was still here when you guys got here, but I was making a wing today, or not a whole wing, but I was making a steel plate, and he was out there riding his bike with me. And
cool. I see a bunch of toys up front. I'm like, oh, I know what this is like. But no, so it's cool having him around doing all that stuff, and he's super into it. Like that's kind of, everyone knows, like with time, the business will transition to him because he wants everything to do with it. Like he was up here for your open house, he absolutely demanded I take him out of school and bring him up. That was
cool.
Like, okay, cool. So we got 3 welders plus those 2. We've got 5 machining centers that we have. So, very few things that we have made that we don't, that we sell that we don't make. There's a couple things here and there because I'll call them like a legacy item thing. Like I've got a guy out in Kansas City that makes a couple things for me because he always has. So I just keep that going. I'm real big. We kind of touched on this before. I'm real big on I'm not going to make something that someone else makes. Like that's not my thing. There's things that we make that others make because it's just always been that way. Rear, upper, and lower control arms. Like, you cut a piece of tubing, you weld some inserts in, you got an A or a control arm. It's not that hard. It's like that type of stuff. I'm not real concerned about that, but people always ask, like, you brought up Mustang stuff. Like, I have no desire to make Mustang K members unless that I made one that nobody else makes for a reason to fix a problem that no one else has fixed. Yeah. Like we've got Racecraft, we've got, Attilio. We'll use those. If we've got customers looking for stuff, we'll go that route because like I know what we're getting with both of those, and I know that we can make what we're doing work. We've gotten into this big billet spindle thing here recently, which has taken off quite a bit. And like, we make Mustang spindles and other people make Mustang spindles, but no one else makes a billet aluminum Mustang spindle. So I don't feel like we're really stepping on people's toes.
I agree with that.
Like I'm sure someone that makes that might see it as a threat. Like I don't make things to be that way. I don't ever do something to be spiteful. Like it's like, no, like we got some really cool stuff, and it'd be cool to offer that, especially to the crowd that we've kind of touched base with. Even our whole conversation started on Mustangs. It's still coming back to us on that part of it, I guess.
Well, and I think too, like what we've learned is a lot of times there's, people do want to stick with you, right? Like, so sometimes you just make stuff out of necessity, even though it's something that somebody else makes. It's like, we have this person that's wanting to buy all the stuff from you because you have this good relationship with them.
Yeah.
And, And sometimes, dude, like there's people that are going to jive with you that want to do business with TRZ.
Oh, yeah.
And then there's going to be people that jive with us. And then there's going to be people that don't jive with us that jive with you.
Like, all the ways. Yep.
And so it's just sometimes there's a person that's a better fit for that company, which is fine. Like, because we all have plenty to do.
Oh, yeah. Well, it's like we said before we started this, Attilio put it best, which a lot of people don't know Attilio, but that's double AA performance. We call it quad A performance, but, Attilio's a good dude. He's a good friend of ours. I've known him for a long time. I actually helped him get started on the parts thing for the same thing we were talking about. He was like, I keep working on these cars and, you get these people. I'm like, well, I made it a K member for my own car when I had no money to buy parts. So I made a fixture for it. I'm like, here you go. Like, you've got a K member business if you want this. Okay, cool. That kind of started his parts business. But what we were saying earlier is like, you put it really good. Like in the case of a lot of companies that make the same parts, sometimes it takes more than one person to push the wheelbarrow.
Yeah.
And that was, one of Attilio's things. And I was like, it's a good way to put it because we all work together. Like, even if you don't know it, like you and your competitors, you still have customers, you share customers, even if you don't know it. So it's like, you still have to work together. And
absolutely.
And you can't, you'll never hear us. I'm never going to badmouth anybody. There's no companies out there I'm going to badmouth, be it someone that wronged us, be it someone that straight up copied our stuff. I'm not going to badmouth them because it doesn't help the industry. Like we're very big on, Made in USA, small business, that sort of thing. Badmouthing anyone doesn't help it that way. So we just stay out of that. It's I don't think that you'll see me. You really only have me, Todd, and Nick that anyone might know on social media. We're not going to say that stuff because it just doesn't benefit us to do it, and it doesn't hurt them to say anything. So what's the point?
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
Let's just get along with all this. We all do this. We all got to do it all together. And regardless of the end result, the customers are all of ours.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
and to your point, like drag racing being a small industry, there's only so much of those customers to go around. Like it's, it's kind of an interesting thing, but, I love doing business with you guys. I love selling your guys' product. It's just fun. Like it works out really, really well.
We try to make it easy. Like you said earlier, like the simplicity of stuff, we make it easy for people to get a hold of our parts. Some places it's not. Like we try real hard to keep stuff in stock. We're not really doing a great job of that right now. This time of year is always very difficult to keep a lot of items in stock. But we try to keep it in stock or ship it within a normal time frame. One thing I know that how this works because of our past with how we had to do CODs because we handle business differently than a lot of places, which is hard for customers to understand sometimes. But like if you order something, we don't put it on your credit card until it's boxed up with a shipping label on it.
Yeah.
For a couple of things. Shipping rates are crazy. You have no idea, they're changing all the time. So I can't just, it's going to be $23 and it costs $45. Or, if this person lives 12 miles down a one-way road and, or something stupid and UPS wants to charge you $85. It's like that. I don't get that. So part of it is like we don't know what the freight's going to be. It's going to charge us all it's done. But the other thing is instead of the customers being like, I already paid for this stuff. Where is it? It's like, well, I told you it was going to be 10 days and it was only 3.
Yeah.
And they're like, well, I already paid for it. So no, you didn't. Yeah, I did. No, you didn't. We haven't charged you yet. So if you don't want to wait, like, I get it. That's cool. We'll just give it to the next person when it's ready. No, that's not what I'm saying. Like, no, like this is our way of being fair. Like we're not holding anyone's money hostage. Like, instead we're holding our parts hostage, but it's a way to,
that's a great way to do it. Yeah.
Well, it's because it's awesome to ship stuff out because then we get to do some billing, right? So that's great for the business because you're going to need some money to operate.
Yeah.
So it makes it easier instead of like, well, this guy paid $2,000 for these parts. It's been 6 weeks, but we already spent the money.
Yeah.
Which is, it goes back to like chassis shop deal. That's what happens with a lot of chassis shops is they bring in deposits on big things and then they spend it because they had to, and it's hard to work on the car. Well, it's no different. Let's just charge when the stuff ships, and customers happy, we're happy. We get to get some money in, they get their parts out, they're not out anything. And it's a way of being honest with each other. It keeps customers honest and it keeps us honest. So
no,
it works well.
It's a really good way to do stuff. I like our website.
Website stuff is a little different.
Yeah, ours won't do it like that. I do wish that it would, because it would be like, granted, you have your day-to-day stuff that's like, you're buying whatever, it's there, it goes. But like, on housings and stuff, it would be nice to even just be able to, I can even split the payment on my website. It's like,
right. That's all of it. Yeah. Yes, we don't even do housings on the website for that reason. There's so many questions involved.
Yeah,
I don't want to build a housing and it not be what you thought you were getting because you misread something, or we misworded it. Not like it. It goes both ways.
It absolutely does. Yeah.
Yeah. Like we do it a little different. Like our website stuff, we do everything through PayPal, and all of our online orders, we just hold in the PayPal balance and treat it exactly the same. So we as a business don't get paid until we ship it, even though the customer did pay for it. But when anything comes up, if it's like, hey, it's been too long, I'm right, they get all angry. It's like, well, I'll just give it back.
Your money back,
because it's not ours yet, like it's not theirs. It's in limbo. Like, but that's where that service comes in, and we kind of do it that way. And most of the time when we tell people like, we'll just refund it, they change their tune. Like, no, I want the parts. Like, okay, well,
I want to give them to you. I want you to have.
We're both on the same page here. Right? I get that.
Yeah.
And it's just, again, it's like an equalizer. So we do things differently that way because of dealings we've had in the past, and because we had a little bit of that reputation where people had bought stuff and it got hung out for a while. So that was our way to fix it early on, and it just it stuck with us. And I stay with it that way. Like I hate it. You'll have it happen. I hate when people absolutely insist, like, I need you to take this money today. I don't want to. They're like, listen, if you don't take it today and charge credit card today, my wife's going to spend it, or, something. Yeah. It's like, okay, I get it. Like, I'll do it reluctantly, but we've got a lot of people that have that sort of stuff, or, it's like, I only have a $2,500 limit, so I need you to charge this now, because when you just happen to do it, it might not go through. I might have to wait a couple of days, so there's circumstances for it, but I feel that sets us apart in the industry by being upfront. Like, there's so many places, I have it happen to myself all the time. I'll call up and order some parts to get in for someone else or whatever. It's like, before I even hang up the phone, I get a notification on my cell phone that's been charged. How'd they do all that quick? But it's just that we don't. So but that's, I think that brings you up pretty much on where we're at as far as now. We got a lot of CNC stuff. Do a shout out to Barry Lutz. He's our laser guy. So he's out in Topeka. All of our laser parts come through him. He makes our life easy like that. Outside of that, if it's not laser cut, I'd say 99% is made in our shop from raw, everything. So
right next to Disney World.
It's a good thing and a bad thing.
Yeah. So. Well, I think we do need to have you back again. I think some of the interesting conversations that we have, you could comment this below, but I think just, maybe a deeper dive in chassis business would be a great conversation to have. Just more history of racing. Well, like some of the stuff that I want to talk about that we're not going to have time on this one.
Sorry, I talked a little too much. Maybe.
No, you didn't. No, it was so awesome. But talking about the history of racing, all the stuff that you've seen change. You're such a wealth of knowledge, and really just how long TRZ's been manufacturing parts, how long you guys have been servicing customers well. Man, that's awesome. It's awesome.
It's been people use it a lot. It's been a wild ride.
I'm sure it has.
There's been a lot that's happened. Like I said, a lot of things that have changed in the industry, expectations of customers. I blame you for that. A lot of it, like you guys doing your polished tubes and all your Furic welding cups and all that.
That's a whole nother, thing. I do agree with that though. That is funny. I heard another chassis guy call it, Instagram chassis work or something.
Yeah.
But which is true is really within I will take credit for something while me and you are here, because I do believe that when we built Jack Vanover's car 8 years ago, I think that we were the first people to polish tube within our industry.
You were.
And,
you were. And you were doing like a little 3-inch roll lock disc.
Yeah. We did it a terrible way.
500,000 of them. But.
Yeah. And the only reason, and it's funny, it's like the reason we did it was because when we posted pictures of the car, we wanted people to see something that they never saw before.
Mm-hmm.
So I can't claim that we took the trend up, that we were the ones that started it.
You may not have been the ones that started it. You were the first ones that put it out for the world to see that that's what you were doing. And to this day and forevermore, you're going to have to continue doing that because that's what people expect of you. But, you know, in all reality, people, you got to show people what's hidden under the surface, like on our end of it. You know, we powder coat all of our stuff. You know, when we do have some bare welds that go out, you know, our guys are very good welders.
Yeah, they look nice.
But you guys popularized it in a way that everyone now is. I see people on Instagram, like I'm not on Instagram a whole lot as far, like I don't post anything. I use it for machining stuff. I more so get all my machining ideas, like fixtures and crap. I got a couple weld porn and whatever. Yeah. You get a couple of that, and in these totally unrelated posts that have nothing to do with race cars, and people be like, "Oh, Soldier Boys can do better than that." Yeah, and I'm like, this is the weirdest thing because like I'll look at them like, can't even put them on anything, but like you guys have people that like welding fanboys that follow you that have nothing to do with the racing world at all because of those sorts of pictures that you put up a while back. Like it's not really your focus as much anymore. Yeah, you do on when they're killing it on the housings and all that stuff. But like when you guys first started, that was a big thing, and it went a lot further than I think you even realized it did because that's just cool. Is. You see it in places like, oh, that's kind of neat.
That is cool. Yeah, and actually, to wrap it up, I think we might have talked on the phone, or it might have been when I visited your shop, but I think you told me like, that was a bad idea to polish with that too, because people are going to expect that. I really think that we had that conversation.
We've had this conversation, yeah.
But, no, man. So what great, I mean, this is a great episode, man. I hope that you guys enjoy it and, you get to know a little bit more about Mike, about TRZ Motorsports. And yeah, I think we definitely have to do this again. And
I'm up for it anytime. Maybe when it's not 35 degrees up here and,
yeah, maybe me and Rick could come to Florida. That sounds better. Yeah. So,
whatever. If we get if people want to know more, like I said, I'm big on promoting small business, manufacturing in the U.S., that type of thing. People have questions on that, reach out, or if enough people have it, like, well, I'll come back up. I don't care. It's with Kevin living up here, I say living here.
He has a house here.
Kevin has a house here still. Being from up here, it's easy to come up because it's, it's not like we're having a hotel and all that stuff and just hanging out in the middle of nowhere. Like we get to enjoy ourselves while we're up, which makes it easy. So
we got big plans this weekend. There you go. So, well, man, thanks for coming and hanging out.
Thanks for having me up on. This went off better than I felt it would. I was nervous.
You were so nervous. Yeah. But as always, guys, just hit the like button for us. If you have other questions for Mike, drop them in the comments below. But yeah, we appreciate you watching. See you next time.
Yep, we'll see you.